The heart is so often misunderstood. We think of our hearts as just a pump, a symbol of love, or perhaps even a poetic metaphor. But the ancients knew better. They saw the heart as a living portal, a sacred threshold where the human and the divine meet. In ancient systems, specifically in ancient Egypt, it wasn't your deeds that were weighed in the afterlife, but it was your heart, literally. Not your brain, also not your achievements, but your actual literal heart. They believed that the heart held your memory, your essence, and then also your truth. In the hall of Ma'at, your heart was placed on a scale and then balanced against the feather of divine justice. If your heart was heavy, if it was weighed down by things such as deceit, bitterness, or unresolved pain, then you were devoured by Ammit, the devourer of souls. But if your heart was light and pure, then you passed through the portal to the eternal afterlife. This is literally how serious the heart was to the ancient Egyptians. It wasn't just part of your body with a biological function, but it was your soul. We find the same reference in the Kabbalah. The heart aligns with Tiferet. This is the center of the tree of life. It doesn't sit at the top of the tree nor at the bottom, but the radiant middle point. It holds the tension between divine will and the human struggle, thus between discipline and compassion, literally between as above, so below. Tiferet is not just about balance, but it's also about beauty. It's about the kind of beauty that comes when we reconcile opposites through our heart center. In Tantra, the heart is known as Anahata. This literally means unstruck sound. It is the center of unconditional love, of forgiveness, and ultimately connection, not the grasping kind for love, but the radiance that shines just because it exists. Anahata, your heart center, is where Shiva and Shakti pass through each other. This is where breath becomes energy and where the feeling of longing softens into the feeling of bliss. It is where the journey of Kundalini energy becomes less about rising to escape the physical body and more about rooting into your presence, rooting into compassion and embodied spirit. But beyond all of these sacred teachings, there's an actual real field of metaphysics at play here. Modern science is just beginning to confirm what mystics have known for centuries, and that is that your heart center, and your actual heart emits an electromagnetic field that is stronger than any other part of your body. This is up to 100 times stronger electrically than your brain and over 5,000 times stronger magnetically. And this isn't just some abstract wave, but it radiates outward in a toroidal field. This is a spiraling energy vortex shaped like a donut, flowing through and around your entire body. Your heart's field can be measured several feet in every single direction. It expands and contracts based on your emotional state. So when you feel fear, grief, or anger, it tightens and it fragments. But when you feel love, true, coherent, present love, it expands and it becomes ardent, rhythmic, and magnetic. This field doesn't just affect you alone, but it entrains those around you. It can synchronize heartbeats. It can also shift emotional states. It can change the mood in a room. That is why some people will simply walk into a room and the entire atmosphere softens or stiffens. They are not talking, they are not broadcasting. So when ancient teachings say that the heart is a portal, this is not poetic metaphor at all. This is energetic reality because it is. The heart is where intention becomes vibration, and the heart is also where feeling becomes frequency, also where spirit becomes experience. And when that portal, when your heart portal is opened, really completely opened, then something profound begins to happen. You stop reaching for things and you start radiating. You stop chasing things such as healing and love, and you start becoming a source of coherence. Love itself stops being a thing that you seek, and it becomes the current that you carry in your waking days. This is why the greatest spiritual shifts don't come from escaping your body or mastering your mind, but they actually come from your heart. Because your heart isn't just an emotional center or a chakra, but it is the doorway to everything that is real. Most people don't realize that the heart is always on. It literally never stops broadcasting, even when we think that we have shut it down, and even at times that we go emotionally numb. But over time, that broadcast can get distorted. Our trauma conditions it, and disappointment armors it. Our overthinking mind dulls it. And eventually, the heart's natural coherence is replaced by noise, scattered thoughts, emotional static, and survival level reactions. And the result is a heart that is technically opened, but energetically jammed. To activate the heart as a portal, something deeper has to happen within us. Not just on a level of emotional healing, not just learning to be vulnerable in that sense, but actually clearing the layers of distortion that warp its frequency. Because when our hearts are clear, it becomes more than a feeling center, and it becomes a true transmitter, coherent, magnetic, and completely impossible to ignore. And one of the oldest and most effective ways to clear that field is through mantra. Not through affirmations, not through chants that you half remember from a yoga class, but the ancient syllables that were designed over thousands of years ago to dismantle the poisons of the ego and then restore the original frequency of the heart. Om Mani Padme Hum is one of those mantras. This is a very powerful Tibetan Buddhist invocation. It's very simple, very subtle, but deeply alchemical. The Om Mani Padme Hum mantra is composed of 6 syllables, each linked to a specific distortion of the mind and designed to purify a poison that clouds the heart's field. Om purifies pride, the kind that hides vulnerability and then disconnects us from others. Ma purifies jealousy and envy, the subtle tension that keeps the heart in comparison, grasping for what isn't ours. Ni purifies desires and attachment, the addiction to outcomes, people's identities that prevents real presence. But purifies ignorance and confusion, the fog that keeps the heart asleep and reactive. Me purifies greed and possessiveness, the belief that love must be hoarded and that safety lies in control. And Hum purifies hatred and aggression, the sharp edges that we carry, often inherited and often unconscious, that poisons the field. Together, these 6 sounds work like tuning forks, dissolving the distortions layer by layer until the original resonance of the heart begins to return to us. Not the soft, sentimental version of love, but the fierce, intelligent frequency of clarity, of compassion, and of magnetism. From a tantric perspective, this frequency lives in the Anahata chakra, the heart chakra, the unstruck sound. It is the center of unconditional love and also the meeting place of opposing energies. Shiva and Shakti, mind and body, ascending and descending energies. When Kundalini energy rises and when it reaches the heart, it pauses there and it expands the heart. And it's through this temple that the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum resonates most deeply, not merely as a chant, but as a vibration that realigns the entire heart field. The power of this mantra isn't limited to Tantric or Tibetan traditions. The ancient Egyptians understood the sacred function of the heart on a multidimensional level. For them, at death, it wasn't your mind that was judged, but your heart and the purity of it. They believed that the heart recorded your life, not your brain, which means activating your heart wasn't just a spiritual practice, but it was existential. In the Holy Kabbalah, the heart corresponds to Tiferet. This is the central point on the Kabbalistic tree of life. It's also the point of radiant balance where divine beauty meets human integrity. Tiferet, the center, mediates between the higher spiritual triad and then the more physical expressions of the self. It is literally the heart of the tree, both metaphorically and energetically. And just like in the Tantric system and in the Egyptian system, coherence at the center is the key to everything else. Because without it, the upper and the lower worlds simply cannot meet one another. Remember, it's always as above, so below, as within, so without. So without this, the current cannot flow. When these teachings are layered together, the mantric purification of the poisons, the tantric temple of Anahata, and the Egyptian judgment of the heart, and the Kabbalistic role of Tiferet, you begin to see that the heart isn't merely just a metaphor, nor merely just an organ with the function of pumping blood, but it is the initiation chamber of the human being. And that initiation happens through frequency, which is why I've created a full mantra track tuned specifically to activate this portal through the sacred mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. This is on my second channel, Sacred Sound Sleep, and you'll find the link in the description below. Remember that this isn't just background music, so you shouldn't just put it on and forget about it. This is a tool for subtle purification. This is also a way to clear the poisons, not by avoiding them altogether, but by actively transmuting them with presence. So the heart can return to what it was always meant to be, not just a symbol, also not a wound, but a radiant field of coherence that attracts, that heals, and that ultimately awakens. Because when your heart starts pulsing from that specific place, then your energy stops leaking and your timeline stabilizes, and you become the one who sets the tone in every single room and in every single interaction, not because you are actively trying to do this, but because the portal to do this is open. When you begin to live from an activated heart, when you begin to truly live from it, then the changes are not just emotional, but they are energetic, they are neurological, relational, and magnetic. This isn't about walking around in a permanent state of bliss, but it's about shifting your baseline frequency from guardedness to openness and from survival mode to coherence. And when that shift truly happens, then everything around you starts to reflect it. People will feel safer in your presence, not because you're actively trying to be safe or healing, but simply because your heart field is regulating theirs. Your nervous system becomes more coherent, your breath will slow, and your voice will naturally soften. You become someone that others can feel calm around, even if they have no idea why they are feeling calm around you. And from an energetic standpoint, your heart field stabilizes. That toroidal electromagnetic field around you becomes more symmetrical and also more rhythmic. So instead of leaking energy through things such as anxiety or emotional reactivity, you begin to retain and to redirect your energy. It starts to flow outward, not with intention or chaotic bursts, but in waves that influence the spaces that you move through. Your intuition sharpens, not the kind that comes from random guessing, but the kind that comes from feeling truth in your body, in your gut, in your solar plexus, before your mind catches up. The heart has its own neurons and also its own intelligence. So when that portal is open, you're not just thinking, but you are sensing, reading, and knowing. And this shifts how you make decisions. You no longer chase things that don't resonate with you. You feel dissonance faster. You stop pushing in places where the energy is simply dead. Instead of doing these things, you follow a quieter, but at the same time, a much clearer inner compass. One that leads you towards right timing, right people, right circumstances, and right opportunities. So, this is what many people call alignment, and it's not a concept, but it's a state. You also become less magnetic to drama, chaos, and to people who thrive in emotional volatility, not because you are better than them, but because your energetic field no longer matches that chaotic pattern. Your heart field repels distortion and attracts coherence. So, this is physics, it's simply resonance. Even your manifestations itself will shift because the universe doesn't respond merely to what you say you want, but it responds to the dominant frequency that you hold and the dominant frequency that you embody. So, when your heart is open, when it is coherent and focused, your energy becomes a broadcast signal and life begins to respond to that signal. This is where power returns to you, not power over other people, also not a performative kind of power, but the kind of inner power that says, I don't need force. I don't need to chase things. I just need to stay in alignment with my heart and then let reality organize around that. This isn't an abstract concept, but it's lived. And the more that you commit to living from the portal of your heart, then the more the world begins to mirror the version of you that's been waiting to emerge all along. Your heart is not just a symbol, but a living, breathing portal. It is a transmitter of energy and a vessel of ancient wisdom. It is the seat of your most powerful magnetism. From the Egyptian hall of Ma'at to the center of the Kabbalistic tree of life, to the unstruck sound of the Tantric Anahata, the heart has always been more than merely flesh. It is where spirit meets form, and it's also where energy becomes coherence. It's also where love becomes a force of creation. And when you activate your heart center, you are not just activating it and being vulnerable and being emotional, but you are stepping into a field that reorganizes your nervous system, transforms your relationships, and aligns your reality through resonance. So, if this stirred something in you, and if you are ready to stop chasing and to start radiating from your heart, then let this be the beginning of a much deeper practice. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because I plan on going much deeper on this subject. And if you've already begun your heart work, then please drop a comment below and tell us about it. Also, please let me know what's shifted for you or what you are still trying to unlock through this hard practice. You can also find me on Patreon, where I share information that is not available on my YouTube. I'll remember to drop a link in the description below. Please also remember to check out my second channel. The link will also be in the description. Lastly, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.